We need to wear our NFL Rob Lowe hats Monday
Yes.
because I forgot I was going to wear it today, and I just forgot I only brought one hat with me down here. So
Well, I was between that one and this one because it was the two hats that I got for Christmas/birthday.
nice. We welcome you to Wilk and Wiss, your bi-weekly update on Utah athletes in the National Football League. My name's Tanner Wilkinson. He's birthday boy from yesterday, Cole Wissinger, is recording on a
Hey,
Saturday morning. Happy birthday, man.
Birthday.
thank you, thank you.
Scott Wilkinson is our guest today. Cole, first time I think I have not recorded an episode from the workspace.
Yes, what is this red cardinal background that you're recording from?
I'm in, oddly enough, Red Rock, Utah, in Moab, in a hotel. Called a game last night and get to make the drive down to Blanding here in about an hour. So,
Yeah, man's on the road for the job. I love it.
yeah, yeah, kind of interesting. Wilkin Wiss goes on the road. How about that? Uh, well, happy to have Scott Wilkinson with us. Glad my dad, who's returning to the show. Before we get into anything Eagles related or just playoffs related or fantasy related,
Yeah, there's
you
a
got
reason. We've actually been holding on to this.
there's a
Scott
mess.
Wilkinson was supposed to come on to clear the air long ago, and then holidays get in the way, and then but this is overdue.
Yeah, it's good to be here. And my only response is that Dane Howe is my favorite Howe. Being questioned by Jordan. Come on now. 16 and 0 is out there on Tanner's ESPN league. If anyone wants to go verify it, I did have a 16 and 0 week. So uh,
You love
Dylan,
to see it.
You're going to
love to see it.
need to go 14-2 today to get the gift card. And also, whoever wins is our guest automatically for next guest show. So Connor Henline is waiting in the wings to rejoin the show. But yeah,
Pressure's on. See if I can go back to back. That'd be something.
Which we'll have a couple playoff weeks. I feel like since I was not present during the first Connor episode, we should have Connor on again, even if he ends up second,
I
even
think
if
that's the
Scott
plan.
Wilkinson can pull the Cinderella story here today.
It's a tough week to pick with a lot of teams resting players and a lot of teams not having a lot to play for, a lot of teams wanting to lose. So
Yeah,
no
there's a
excuse,
reason
no
that
excuse.
the fantasy playoffs usually end last week because who the heck knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Speaking of fantasy, Cole, I got to pump my chest a little bit.
You
Won the
do it.
Guillotine League. That Jameer Gibbs score late on Monday night sealed the deal. I was only up a point. Purdy had thrown back-to-back picks. I knew the Niners were going to have to throw a ton down the stretch, and I'm thinking, oh, he's due for another pit. Like the way this is going, I'm going to lose by a point. And what was cool about it was Gibbs and Purdy were my last two guys, right, to play
Mm-hmm.
to get me the win. I had those guys all year. I drafted both of those guys. And I found it very poetic that I had them all season long. Them and
They
Chase
carried
Brown
you.
were my three guys that I played every week pretty much. And yeah, got to give a shout to those guys. So shout to Penny Sewell for getting that block that sprung Jameer Gibbs free, but I'm $90 richer and we'll see where. But in all honesty, this guillotine league is the funnest league to play in. Like for any fantasy football people out there, find someone who will run a guillotine league, read about it, look at it. Like shout out to David Brinkerhoff,
Yeah,
who
or
he's
just
done,
be friends with David.
or just be friends with David because he runs multiple. It's the best fantasy football league I've ever been a part of. I thought Dynasty was a lot of fun, and it still is. It's my number two. But dude, guillotine, the week to week pressure, all of that. It's
And
just wild.
Dynasty manages to be really fun without necessarily that buy-in, right? Like I'm a cheapskate. I don't love spending because I'm in a lot of fantasy leagues because we love football. But I limit myself to just two that I'm going to spend money on. We have a main money redraft league that I try to put most of my energy into, but then guillotine just being $5 and yet it's still being a decent payoff at the end for the one winner. It's winner take all because there's only one man left at the very end, and it's just such a cool design to everything. Yeah, guillotine's the coolest new way to play fantasy.
See, and I'm the same way. I maybe put 25 total bucks in But
Yeah.
every year, like throughout all my leagues, every year I'm taking home more cash though for whatever reason. So
Well,
pays
okay, so
off.
you take away the top prize in the main guillotine league. I ended up winning our money league,
That's right.
which honestly, there was a point during this league. We've talked about this. It ended up being a 14 team league for the first time this year. And we're going to go back to 12. Like that 14
Yeah.
was too much. And there was a time in the midseason where it became like my third or fourth one that I was paying attention to because things had seemed like they went off the rails. Made the comeback at the end. And by starting, listen to this one, Tommy Tremble, who got me 0 points in the championship week, I still won because I had to make a late sub for my tight end because of the Christmas NFL schedule, which I'm sure we'll talk about, like games every single day. It looked like Njoku was going to be playing. My backups had already played earlier in the week, and so I couldn't just plug in Will Disley, Stone Smart, like a couple of the other tight ends that were available. And so by the time I found out Njoku was going to be out, I just had the Sunday guys to sub in. Tommy Tremble looked like the best option. He got 0, still won the league with like 90
That's
points.
amazing.
14 teams, it was a pretty skinny roster, and you got to get really lucky at the end, and I did.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Wilk and Wiss know what they're talking about when it comes to football.
And then the man David, we've shouted him out before. He's an amazing commissioner. He also knows what he's doing. He just won our dynasty league for the
Yep.
second year in a row without the help of Christian McCaffrey. So I made a late season trade last year where I dump off Christian McCaffrey, and that seems like a great trade for me because I pulled away 2 first round picks. One gave me Drake May, which I'm happy with. The other I think I traded around, got Tua with, and then like a future second, something like that. And Christian McCaffrey helped lead him to a championship last year. This year the trade looks good. Christian's not coming back. It's been up and down all season, and yet David has built such a monster with that
Mm-hmm.
team. He sneaked into the playoffs, 6 seed, 7-7 record, and then went on a run when it mattered.
He was trying to make some because I was having a fire sale. I'm rebuilding in this league, and he was trying to make some deals with me at the deadline because it was
Mm-hmm.
make or break for him at this point. And I'm glad I didn't make a deal with him because now that draft pick's not going to be quite as valuable as it might have been that was
Yeah,
being
he was
dangled, right?
on the edge. Like he was out of the playoffs for most of it, and it looked like he was going to get either the fourth or fifth pick with his first round pick this year. And now all of a sudden, it just jumped to the 12th because he won the league.
Well, let's get to our guest. He's rocking a pretty fly crew neck. Sundays are for the birds with the old school eagle logo on it. Uh, who do you want to play in the first round if you're Philadelphia? If you locked up the number 2 seed, who are you
Yeah, this
on?
is this is a tough one. I think just to keep the family harmony going, I want the Commanders. I want that rematch. I think we take them. It's down to them and the Packers. We've already played both teams this year, beaten both teams, lost to the Commanders once. I'd like that rematch against the Commanders, and not really interested in seeing the Packers in the playoffs. So that's. I think Jaden Daniels has been great, but no playoff experience. Let's get him in his first year.
Hmm.
The dynamics between the AFC and NFC are a big deal because the AFC has maybe the 3 best teams in all of football, and then a bunch of teams that are also making the playoffs. There's an argument to be made if you're ranking just every team in the NFL power ranking style. AFC's got 1, 2, 3 with order them how you will: Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens, because of some of the Lions' injuries and whatnot. But then spots 4 through 11 might all just be the entire NFC playoff field, including maybe 1 or 2 that missed before you get around to the Steelers and the Texans and some of these other teams that sneak into the AFC field.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
Washington's probably like the weakest of them, but
Yeah,
man, it's a tough sledding in that conference.
it is. The NFC is going to be a bloodbath in the playoffs. You had Detroit look dominant early, but with all the injuries they've had, can the defense hold it together enough to make the run in the playoffs is going to be the question. So, but yeah, every other team's got a shot, I think. So I don't think any team in the NFC's you could say has no shot at making a deep run.
Looking at Philly's health, how are you feeling about heading into this? A lot of guys resting, obviously, where you're locked into the two spot, which is kind of a nice thing. Get Jalen Hurts 100% for that playoff game next week. Make sure Saquon's fresh to go. Thoughts on Philly's health heading into the postseason?
Yeah, I think they're in pretty good shape. The defense has really come along, and most of those guys are pretty healthy. So we can get through this week. I think that's where it's at. Should get Dallas Goedert back for the playoffs as well. Um, so yeah, I think the week off, give AJ Brown a rest, get Hurts healthy, and Eagles should be ready to roll.
And with that week off, I mean, the big Eagles news is that Saquon is not going to be pursuing Eric Dickerson's record. The first year against the Giants, you can make up every storyline you want, right? It's against the Giants, the team that let him go in the offseason, and he can break the single season record against the team that let him just walk away. But the Eagles, especially like we said, those Lions injuries, the whole NFC field is so evenly matched. The Eagles might be a little bit the favorite coming into it, but they cannot get the bye. It's either going to be Detroit or Minnesota, the winner of that game, which is the marquee matchup of the week. And so you got to give yourself like the fake bye this week in order to get healthy and get ready. I think it's the right move. It surprises me that they're making the right move, honestly.
Yeah, you got to love Saquon's attitude about the whole thing. Saying he came here, came to Philly to do more than rush for 2,000 yards. Um, so yeah, I like his attitude. He's been such a great addition to the team this year.
Best free agent signing at running back, maybe ever in the history of the NFL. I mean, Derrick Henry to the Ravens is up there too, but
Yeah, I mean, you got both of those this year. You could throw in Josh Jacobs to the Packers this year as well, right? I mean, that's three big moves but yeah, Saquon's I think definitely had the biggest effect. It's really you could just see his ability to break that big run, and uh, when you got him and Jalen in the backfield with the threat to run, um, that makes it tough on a defense.
We've talked about it on this podcast. We love when teams zig, when everyone's zagging. And up until this point, the biggest offseason acquisition involving a running back in NFL history that people go to is talking about the Herschel Walker trade, which was a bad trade. Like that, going back all the way back to like 1989 until literally this year, the driving force of running backs don't matter, and you don't acquire an aging running back because the years that they, start declining keeps getting closer and closer. It used to be, oh, after 30 they're cooked. Now it's after 26, after 27. Like we keep getting earlier and earlier, and guys that play Dynasty start cluttering that conversation too because we get so obsessed with the stats and we try to get rid of them earlier and earlier. And yet this year, those three teams that are good, that can put them into the right environment, right, were able to pay off. Um, and yeah, they're three great teams in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
all threats to win it. Let's get to our slate starting today, 2:30 Mountain Time. It's the Browns and the Ravens. Baltimore's a 20-point favorite in this game. Billy Zappi is starting at quarterback. The year the Browns did not win a game, the 0-16 year, the heaviest they were favored to lose was, I think, 13 and a half. They're favored to lose by 20 points today. This is the easiest pick of the year. I'm taking Baltimore.
It'd be funky. Baltimore still has something to play for, is the thing. Like, they could take a bye and still get away probably with a win against Bailey Zappi. Maybe at halftime, we'll see what happens. But yeah, you got to pick Ravens.
Cole, this has got to be the biggest
Yeah, I
spread in
think
NFL.
Tanner said it best.
This has got to be the biggest spread in NFL history where a team has beat another team earlier in the season and then is favored to lose by this much. Like this, there's got to be some wacky number with this. Anyway, go ahead, Dad.
Yeah, no, I was just going to agree with you. Easiest pick of the day. Baltimore, they got everything to play for. Cleveland's a mess. Yeah. And I think Baltimore covers the 19 and a half or 20. I've seen both lines. So
See, so if I was betting, first of all, don't gamble if you like your money. But if you're going to take some gambling advice here, mine is don't put anything down on the last week of the NFL season, especially in this game. Like I said, if the Ravens have it sewn up in the second half, they could just rest their starters and then Cleveland could climb back inside that 19 and a half. It's such a ridiculous line that I don't trust that in a week where anything can happen. And then normally the schedule makers and the flex scheduling of the last week make it really interesting and give us these storylines whenever there's two teams that have something to play for. I think they messed up this week having the Ravens and Browns play a full game and then Bengals Steelers kicks off after it's completed. When the Ravens win this game, the Steelers are basically locked into their playoff spot. I mean, yeah, it's helpful to be the 5 seed instead of the 6 seed ish, like depending on what the Chargers do, or maybe the Broncos are mathematically able to hop. But the Steelers should probably rest their starters against the Bengals once they find out that they aren't playing for a home game. And then, so that's our next game. That's the other game today. I pick the Bengals.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one. As good as Cincinnati's been, and the magic of a late season Joe Burrow run, I just have my guts telling me Pittsburgh today.
Yeah, this was a tough one to pick. I've gone back and forth a few times. I think, running back health for the Bengals, a little bit of a question there. Chase Brown's been a big addition to that offense, catching the ball out of the backfield too. So I'm going to go Pittsburgh.
Let's get to the Sunday slate. A lot of football being played on Sunday. No Monday game, no Thursday game. Texans and Titans. Tennessee is a 2-point favorite. Houston's pretty well locked into that position as the 4 seed. I'm still going to take the Texans because the Titans are that bad, regardless of who plays at quarterback.
We really should. I mean, Christmas and New Year's is such a weird time to be trying to focus on football, but I should know better who is actually announced that they're playing backups because Houston doesn't have anything to play for. They should take the bye when they can get it, which means maybe Tennessee does something because Callahan still has something to prove here with how disastrous this season's gone. And hopefully, he convinces ownership that Will Levis is not the guy for him. I'll take Tennessee on the chance that Houston does it. Also, talk about fantasy ending their season last week, and so things really, you should not gamble on the last week of the NFL season because anything can happen. Tanner, our year-long pick'em, we are within one game of each other, and so this week absolutely does matter for our bragging rights.
Yeah, another tough one. I think I've seen Joe Mixon's unlikely to play. CJ Stroud may get a few reps, but probably won't play the whole game. But based on that, I am also going to go with the Titans. I think Texans don't really have anything to play for. So
a lot of division matchups here in the last week of the season. In fact, if we scroll, I think it is exclusively
it
is exclusively division matchups that they schedule for this final week. Hoping, at the beginning of the season that we do see some divisions decided. Carolina, Atlanta will circuitously decide a division. Atlanta needs to win and then start praying for a Tampa Bay downfall. And I am going to pick Atlanta in this game.
Yeah, Michael Penix has actually been really good, like surprisingly a shot in the arm. We'll see how that lasts for them. And Carolina looked like Carolina last week after they did not look like Carolina against the Cardinals. No salt there. Taking Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Atlanta. They've got something to play for. Carolina's showed a little bit this year, but really at this point, I got to go with the Falcons, with hoping for that outside chance they make it into the playoffs.
Another massive game when it comes to this, but again, Saints in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay wins and they are in. Bucks are a 14.5-point favorite against a Saints team that has been as banged up and as just disastrous as any team. And the fact that the Saints got to 5 wins this year is kind of crazy. I mean, they started 2-0 with that hot offense. They were healthy. And then Dennis Allen, and Baker Mayfield, man, loved the resiliency of this Bucks team. I hope they get in. Baker's just become one of my favorite people in the NFL. How much he's grown since he was a college player. I'm taking Tampa Bay.
The argument out there exists that the Saints season went the way that it's gone because of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game the first time that they played, right? They start off 2-0 and then they played the Eagles tight, right? There was a 3-point game against the Eagles, a 2-point game against the Falcons. The Chiefs got away from them a little bit, but then 51-27, where the defense just had given up, refused to tackle anyone in week 6. And then we get what we get with Dennis Allen and then Rizzy coming in with who knows. And this this was the inflection point of the season, and Tampa Bay gets to shut the door on it for the Saints, and I'm going to pick the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, Baker's rolling right now. The Saints are a disaster. I think you guys have said it all that can be said there. Tampa Bay rolls in this one and makes the playoffs.
All right, Scott Wilk, your Philadelphia Eagles hosting the New York Giants, and I am going to take the Eagles.
I'm taking the Giants. Leave it to them to screw up getting the number one pick last week. They're going to further do what the Raiders did. We thought those were the top two teams to get a lock. I think the Giants win this week.
Yeah, Eagles are resting everybody. The Giants actually showed some life last week. I I I don't think the Eagles care at all about this game other than getting out of it healthy. I think Giants win.
The Bills are at the Patriots. Buffalo does not have anything to play for. They're locked into the 2 seed. I'm going to still take Buffalo in this one, though. The Patriots loved what Drake May is going to do. But if I'm New England, I want to lose this game and get the number one pick and then trade that for a haul because you've already got your quarterback. He needs weapons. He needs protection. You can get a lot of that by trading that number one pick. So I think the Patriots try to lose this game. I'm going to go with Buffalo.
Tanking makes more sense from a fan and a general management perspective than it ever does when you're inside the locker room. Gerard Mayo is like half playing for his job. He wants to look good, and yet management might be angry if he does win to the point where he could get fired. Like, it is a lose-lose scenario where if he looks so bad and loses to the Bills' backups, you could say, oh, we fire him because he lost control of the locker room and it wasn't a great first year anyway. If he wins, you can fire him, without saying that it's because he ruined your number one pick, but the man's in, you're set up for the number one pick. Don't screw that up. So I'm going to pick New England. I just, inside the locker room, the dudes and the coaches do not think arguably the way they should. Like, it's sometimes you should tank, and NFL players just don't, you don't want to put your life on your body on the line to tank. I'm going to pick New England, and I think it's going to mess things up.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I think Josh Allen is slated to play a few series. So
And then get out as soon as possible. Like, that's,
get out, yeah. So but can New England really screw this up and win the game? I think they'll do just enough to lose, and Buffalo just pulls it out barely.
See, Drake, the way to tank, and we, as Dynasty guys, we know you don't put your guys in and then tell them not to try. The way to tank is to just not start them in the first place. And so, like, Buffalo isn't tanking. They just need the rest. Drake May got beat up a little bit in the Chargers game last week. Just say, oh, he's still recovering. We're going to put Jacoby Brissett on. Honestly, Jacoby's just your 1 year guy. If you have an emergency third quarterback, just say, oh, we're going to start that guy. Get him see what we got there.
Yeah.
Just, set it up. The other AFC East matchup is Miami versus the New York Jets. If any season has not gone the way that they thought, it is the Jets. And that little glimmer of hope that maybe you bring back Aaron Rodgers and things are okay because they had a little blip in the season, those hopes are long gone. And yet, for Utah connections, it's going to be Snoop Huntley starting for Tua for the Dolphins, it looks like. Who knows what could happen in this game, but I'm going to pick Miami.
I'm taking Miami as well. I'm going to give him a shot. It's Mike McDaniel. he's done an actually phenomenal job with how banged up this offense has been. I don't think he's getting enough love amongst coaching circles right now. I'm taking the Dolphins.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Is this Rodgers' last game ever? It looks like he's done with the Jets anyways at the conclusion of this game. It's been a complete disaster there. Um, does he pull out one miracle last game and walk off into the sunset with a win? I don't think so. Dolphins win.
Jaguars at the Colts. Indy got slammed this week by Pat McAfee in what was phenomenal social media content. I'm still taking the Colts. Joe Flacco. Is this Joe Flacco's last game? No, I kid. Like, this is not a sunset moment for Joe Flacco, but I think he's good enough for the Colts to beat the Jaguars.
Jags have had such a goofy season that it does look like it's going to be Doug Peterson's last game in the NFL for a little while, and I'll pick the Jags.
Yeah, I wrote down the Jags, questioning that choice, but I'm going to stick with it. Both teams seem to be a little bit of a mess, and but the Colts have struggled with Jacksonville over the years, so
At
I'm
home,
going to
Colts
at
always
home.
lose to
Yeah, I'm going
Jacksonville
to
at
go ahead.
home. Now that I'm thinking of, I'm going
Yeah,
to keep my pick, but now I'm really second guessing myself.
yeah, I got Jaguars. So,
The team that Doug Peterson used to coach for's other two division opponents, Washington and Dallas, are playing, and Washington is still playing for something, right? Positioning and whatnot. Dallas, could be McCarthy's last game, depending on the whims of Jerry Jones. I'll take Washington.
Yeah, I'm taking Washington as well. That game they lost to Dallas at home was such a fluky game. I don't think it happens again. And Dallas has just been bad at home this year, so taking the Commanders.
yeah, I actually want Dallas to win this game, but I don't think it's going to happen. They're just, you know, Washington has just proven that they're a team that can pull it out when they need to this year, and they're playing to not have that rematch against the Eagles and get um, probably the Rams if they win. So I think the Commanders go all out and win the game.
Packers, Bears, taking the Packers.
I will also be rooting or picking against the Bears.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter who the quarterback is in Green Bay. They own Chicago, so Packers win.
A
The
game.
Chargers have guaranteed their playoff spot, but where they will be playing is going to be determined by the Steelers game on Saturday. But when you play the Raiders have seemingly given up now after that one accidental win, and I'm going to take the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh doesn't seem like a guy that's ever going to let his team let up.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I think the Chargers win, and I think they cover that 4.5 pretty easily.
Yeah, Chargers, they're playing for momentum. I, I think you're right. Harbaugh's not going to let them take the day off, so they'll roll over the Raiders pretty easily.
The other LA team, this could have been the game of the week, but thanks to the Commanders winning in overtime last week, it eliminated Seattle. Rams clinched the division. They're resting all their guys. I don't think Matthew Stafford's going to play a snap, if I remember reading right. Seattle should win this. They'll technically tie, but strength of record and all that kind of stuff benefits the Rams anyway. So they're already in. But I think Seattle wins this week.
I also take Seattle. The Arizona Cardinals, Tanner, ruined our chances of this being an entertaining contest.
Yeah.
Yeah, Seattle with the Rams resting everybody, got to go Seattle on this one.
And now let's talk about the other half of the NFC West, Arizona, playing for momentum into the next season against a San Francisco team also we didn't expect to be this eliminated by this point, I'll take Arizona.
Yeah, I'm taking the Cards as well. It's a pride thing. Say the line, Bart, for the Niners to go 6 and
Faithful
11.
Ben.
That'd be beautiful for me since we're not going to get in.
Yeah, Cardinals win. Um, I think 49ers are too banged up.
And this season has even been a best case scenario for Niners haters because, yeah, 6-11 is a crazy bad record. And yet they're not going to pick in the top 10 because there have been so many even worse teams in the NFL. So you get the 49ers in just a disaster mode. And there's so many other teams worse that their draft pick won't even be that good for this kind of a bad season. Last time they had this bad of a season in the Kyle Shanahan era, they were able to, get Picnic Bosa up for, one of the best edge rushers. And this time, no such luck.
Is it the Josh Dobbs revenge game? Because he started a few games with the Cardinals last year when
Ooh.
Kyler was out. Hadn't thought of that until uh, just now. So, Chiefs and Broncos. Kansas City is resting everybody. Denver wins and they're in. I think Denver wins. I don't think they cover the 10.5 point spread, though. I think this gets a little bit more interesting than that down the stretch. But I do think at the end of the day, the Broncos win and they get in.
Andy Reid with the backup quarterback is going to Broncos fans sweat a little bit, but I do pick Denver.
Yeah, I think the spread's a little large on this for a team that's 15-1, even if they are resting a lot of players. But Denver does get the win and sneaks into the playoffs.
The other fluke of the schedule of scheduling the AFC North games on Saturday and then letting this all happen on Sunday is that Denver's going to know if they have anything to even. I mean, they're going to try to win and they're going up against backup, so they might accidentally win anyway. But, you know, Denver could still lose and end up in if the Indianapolis Colts screw up again and Cincinnati can't get past Pittsburgh. So, they'll
It's
Broncos
Miami.
fans might sweat a little bit, but yeah.
Miami. If Miami loses and
Oh, that's
Cincy
right. The Colts
loses,
are already out. It's my yeah.
Miami,
if
yeah.
if Miami, which with it being the Jet, I don't. This could get real wonky for that last spot on Sunday.
But the last game on Sunday
Mm.
is the game of the week. It's the first playoff game because this is for the one seed in the NFC. Minnesota Vikings versus the Detroit Lions. Lions have gotten just decimated by injuries. Alex Anzalone's coming back, which is helpful because they've been missing a little bit in the spine of that defense. They've been gashed of late. Minnesota likes attacking. This is a Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay coaching tree kind of play action offense. And Aaron Jones been looking very good for the other team in the NFC North. I'm going to take the Vikings with Sam Darnold to get the one seed in the NFC.
I'm picking the same thing, man. Even though this is in Detroit, that place is going to be rocking. I think it's a really close game. I think Minnesota's just healthy enough to eke something like this out.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this one a few times. I've not been a Viking believer for most of the season, but they keep proving me wrong week in and week out. I think they've been the most consistent team all year. Health-wise, they're in a little bit better shape than the Lions. So, hate to say it, all three of us are picking the Vikings to win this game and take home the one seed.
It's
There's
got
an
Detroit's going to win. That is guaranteed. The last time there is no way.
Kiss it down.
well, here's the deal. Do you want to buy given how the college football playoff went? Now, it's different in the NFL, obviously, but
Ooh.
I don't know, man. Like
Yeah,
it's
there,
it's
there's a nice advantage of having that one seed.
in the NFL, I agree.
You
You know,
get
you
the bye and then they reseed where you get to play the worst team left. That's a
that's
Between
true.
reseeding and an actual home game, right? These were neutral site bowl games that these bye
Very
teams
true.
played themselves out of getting an extra home game.
Well, it reminded me a lot with this college football playoff of March Madness, right? Like some of these teams that play in the first four have a little more rhythm, have a little bit more of momentum that
Yes.
they're playing into. So that's going to be an interesting discussion in in college football going forward. But anyway.
Yeah, all the complaints about wanting, the seedings being messed up and a 12th ranked Arizona being the 4 seed when we get into the playoffs ended up costing. Like, now all of a sudden, do all these people that said we need to reassess how we just dole out the buys, do you even want the buy in the first place? Conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, Dad, thanks for hopping on with us again. Glad we were able to make this happen. Holidays get busy for everyone. You two are in the process of home divvying up and moving and trying to sell and selling and chimney drama, and what we made it happen. So
Yeah.
Made it happen. Yeah. So it's always good to be on Wilkin West. So appreciate the opportunity.
Cole, my man.
Wilkin Wiss, my favorite edition of the show.
That's right. Cole, my man, happy birthday yesterday.
Thank you.
Always enjoy our time together, and glad we get to do it again for another year. And not just the podcast thing, but just being brothers. So we'll hit that Tucano's up soon for the buy one, get one for us January.
That's the best part of January.
That's right. Once again, this has been Wilkin Wiss, your bi-weekly update into Utah athletes in the National Football League, and you, the fan. Enjoy Week 18. We'll catch up with you to talk playoffs on Monday.